I'm Robin Tutor, and I'm the director for the North Carolina Agromedicine Institute. The Institute is a partnership of East Carolina University, NC State University, and North Carolina Agricultural and Technical State University. Our mission is to promote health and safety for farmers, fishermen, loggers, their workers, and their families through research, prevention, intervention, and education outreach. Today, we're going to be talking about the importance of health and safety in agricultural related occupations, including considerations for business owners and management, as well as personal protective equipment. So the first question I want to ask you is, as a future business owner, what do you think is the most important thing to your future business's success and to its bottom line? What's the most important thing?
Money.
Money. That's true. You've got to have some money if you're going to start that business.
The knowledge behind it.
The knowledge behind it. Connections. Safety. That was a very good answer. All right, so let me ask you what you're going to spend your money on as a future farmer.
Pretty much everything. Labor, seed, taxes, everything that comes with it, yeah.
Property.
You have to buy, nothing's free really.
Anything else you're going to spend your money on? Vehicles. Insurance. So, when you start this business, who is the most important person to the bottom line? Yourself. And what about the people who are going to work for you one day? Whether they're employees or whether they're family members, the people are what turn agriculture. You have to have all those things. But if I take you out of the family farm when you take it over one day or start your own, what's going to happen to your farm? It's going to be gone. It's going to be in those houses in Johnston County that keep going up, right? It's going to be gone. How many of you in here have ever been to a farm auction? You see signs for that all the time. Well, if something happens to you and you have a serious injury, or worse yet, you are a farm fatality, then chances are that farm, that nursery, horticulture business, landscape business, it's going out. It's not going to be there anymore. So this is my first encouragement to you as future business owners, is to think about planning for health and safety in your business. And we're going to talk about what some of those things are. What if I told you that the rate of agricultural fatalities in the United States and in North Carolina is over 8 times greater than the rate of fatalities for any other occupation? Did you know that? Does it change your mind about the money you need to invest in your bottom line? Well, it should. And I want you to think about that. So next week, my associate director, Dr. Lamar Graff, will be here. And Lamar is going to talk to you a little bit more about your willingness to take risks, because it really is about what your risk tolerance is. And he's going to talk to you more about machinery and poultry and I think some other livestock things. But today what I'm going to do is give you a general overview of some of the things that you have in your packet and things that perhaps you want to think about. So you said you come from a family business already. How many of the rest of you come from a family business or have worked in the field you're going into? All right, so do any of you in those settings take any health and safety precautions that you want to share with the rest of the group?
I've used a respirator before,
You used a respirator, and what did you use a respirator for?
mixing and spraying chemicals.
Okay, and how did you know which respirator you needed to use for mixing and spraying chemicals?
They told me.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's a good place to start.
We did a little class thing before they allowed me to, and then they just gave me my respirator.
They just gave you your respirator. All right, so we're going to take off on that answer. And if you had to look for where to find the correct respirator and the correct gloves and maybe other personal protective equipment to use when you're doing chemicals, where would you look? And what would you look for specifically? How many of you have ever seen a pesticide label? Does anybody know where the health and safety information is on a pesticide label? It's on there, but it's on the label too. Okay, so if you looked at the label, what did you look at the label for?
Warnings.
What?
Warnings.
Well, yes, but usually when I ask a group of folks who are out there working already, they tell me that they read that label for application rates. How do you apply this stuff? How do you mix it? Well, you have to go down through the label a little way to find that information. But if you want to know the correct respirator or the correct gloves, or whether or not you've got to have safety glasses or goggles or an apron, you're going to be within the first 2 pages on the label. So when it says warning, danger, caution, who to call if you happen to swallow it or get it in your eyes or end up with EMS or at the hospital, right after that is going to be the information on the correct respirator. Now, I'm going to pick on you just a teeny bit, if you don't mind. So when you had your respirator, did you have this lovely face with all the hair on it?
I had a mustache at one point while I was using it, and a goatee. I messed with it a little bit.
Okay. And did you have a medical clearance or a respirator fit test?
Yeah, they do the seal test on it.
Okay, but did they put you through a medical clearance first that you had to answer questions about your health? And for your seal test, did they just have you see if it would do a positive and a negative seal, or did you go through a test that you had to do like 8 different exercises, like turning your head side to side, doing your head up and down, bending over at the waist? Did you do any of that?
To be honest, I don't believe so.
Okay, so to be honest, you were not correctly approved to use your respirator. So not only are you sure that you had the right one, but you don't even know if it fit you correctly and whether or not your health could have affected whether or not you could wear that respirator safely. So many of you who are going into hort and nursery, if you're producing plants for agricultural production, and you will be, or if you have row crops on your farm or vegetable crops or whatever else it's going to be, there are new provisions from the Environmental Protection Agency under the Worker Protection Standard that say to use a respirator, you have to complete a medical clearance and a proper respirator fit test. And then you should have a card that goes in your pocket that says you've been fit tested for a specific manufacturer, model, and size of a respirator. So if any of you are currently working or you're going to work this summer in a setting that is going to require respiratory protection, then you need to say to your boss, can I just share a phone number with you or an email? The nice thing about the Institute is we're not regulatory, we're not advocacy, we're here only to assist people in being able to comply. So before you put a respirator back on, there are some things that are going to happen, including that you're going to need to shave. Because anywhere a respirator fits your face, if there's hair, then it's not going to seal correctly and it's not going to protect you correctly. So think about that. That really changes your thought about what you were doing a little bit, I hope. Well, you could switch your major. However, I heard someone say that they're going to do livestock and poultry maybe. So respiratory concerns are the number one concern in agriculture. Anyone who's working in an agricultural environment is going to be exposed to a lot of different things. What are some of the things you're going to be exposed to from a respiratory point of view? Dust, certainly.
In his line of work?
In any of you?
Gas fumes.
Gas, mist. If you're using a power washer to clean a confined animal feeding operation, if you go into a poultry house or a hog house, what's in there?
Feces.
A lot of it. And if there is dust coming up on the bedding, then that attaches to that dust that's coming up. And then there's ammonia and other things. All kinds of microorganisms. So if you are in there and you don't have respiratory protection, where's that stuff going?
In your lungs.
And the smaller the particle, the deeper it travels. And over time it can build up, and that's why when you see seasoned poultry farmers who are a little older like me, they may be thinking about giving up their business because they're on oxygen, because they burn their lungs or they burn their eyes. Or if you're working outside with cattle, I had a gentleman who was working a cattle cell and it was muddy, and he was running cows in and breathing in all kinds of things, but then he also got it in his eyes and ended up having to have eye surgery. So think about what I said at the beginning. Who's the most important and what's the most important? Now, why don't people use personal protective equipment or think about health and safety when they're in agricultural jobs? It's what? It's not standard. Absolutely. That is a very good answer. It's not. What were you going to say?
I was saying the same thing.
The same thing.
It's not common, like, the people who they watch do it or taught them might not have done that.
The people they watch do it. And I grew up on a 100-acre farm. All my uncles and aunts and my father, my mother, everybody farmed. But no, it was not standard practice. No one ever talked to me about respirators or eye protection. It wasn't standard. And so a lot of times we'll hear our older farmers say, I've always done it that way, and nothing has happened. But just because you've never done it that way, how many times does it take for an injury or a fatality to occur? One time. One time. And when do those injuries and fatalities occur? What kind of conditions do you think or circumstances result in those incidents happening?
I think usually when you're a little too comfortable with something.
You're a little too comfortable because you've always done it that way. What else?
You're trying something new that you've never tried before.
Well, you may be doing something new.
You're not using the right equipment.
You may not be right using the right equipment. So if you're taking guards off of equipment, if you're disconnecting safety cutoff switches, and you're not putting things back, or if you're leaving a piece of equipment running when you're troubleshooting why it's not working properly, then you might be setting yourself up for disaster. Now, what else do you think might cause an incident to occur? Miscommunication could happen, and that happens a lot. Does anybody have grain bins on a family farm? So for farms that store grain, then if someone doesn't lock out, tag out the grain bin, and they go inside, which they should never do, but if they go inside and someone doesn't know they're there, and then they turn on the sweep auger in the bottom of the bin because they're unloading it, then you can be suffocated because you didn't communicate that you were in that bin and it should have been locked out, tagged out. What happens when you're tired and you're in a hurry? So many times we hear our farmers and other ag folks who have been injured say to us, I was in a hurry. The rain was coming. I had to get something cut. I had to get, some piece of equipment fixed. I had to get to the bank and sign a document. And so I was in a hurry, and we had been working 18 or 20 hours a day. And I was just tired, and the voice in my head told me I needed to stop, but I didn't stop. So when your body tells you, especially when you're working around machinery, that you need to stop, you need to stop. There's a reason for that, because it affects your judgment and it affects your motor responses. Just like if you've taken, you've been drinking alcohol, when your body reaches its fatigue point, it's going to have those similar kinds of effects. So you have to plan for some breaks. Now, you guys are going to be outside a lot, whether you've chosen to be a farmer or you've chosen to be in horticulture or you've chosen to be in landscape. What do you know about North Carolina and other southern states in the summer? It is hot. It's very hot. North Carolina has historically been the leading state in the country for heat-related deaths. So one of the things as a business owner you need to think about is how you're going to manage to get all your work done within the period of time that you have it done, but yet still protecting your workers. So what is one thing that you could do to help prevent work-related or heat-related illness in the course of a day in the summer? Well, hydration stations are absolutely important. Absolutely.
Get them hats,
What kind of hats?
straw hats.
Sun hats.
Wide brim hats. So please, when you buy your business and you want to advertise it, don't be buying baseball caps. Okay, so Miracle makes those, and they're really neat that you just put them in water, soak them, the gel swells up, and they absorb the heat off the back of your neck. They make Miracle cooling vest. Absolutely. What else?
Knowing the signs.
Knowing the signs, absolutely. Knowing the signs of what heat-related illness is. And if you go to the OSHA website, they have wonderful materials on there in English and in Spanish. So you're absolutely right. Because when is it too late to correct a heat-related illness? After it's already happened, but what do you stop doing?
making sense.
Well, that's one thing, confusion. You stop working, but something else. You stop sweating. When you stop sweating, it's too late. So none of you have hit the thing that I'm after. Everything you've said is absolutely correct. But one thing that you might want to think about is work reorganization. So if you start earlier in the morning, when it's cooler, allow for some breaks during the middle of the day, and then do what you can in the evening. That's something that we don't think a lot about. One of the things that we've been trying to do is to work with the Department of Public Health to let communities know when it was dangerous for their outdoor workers to be working. If you also go to OSHA, they have an app that you can get for your phone that will tell you when the conditions are dangerous for folks to be working. So, you know, you need to have your ears and your eyes out for when it's going to be dangerous to your workers. Because what happens if you have a serious injury or a fatality as part of your business? What's the fallout from that? You got to pay for it, and it's going to cost you a lot of money that you could have prevented it from happening. What else is going to occur? It's going to bring you some pretty bad publicity. And what's going to happen to your business then? It's going to go down, absolutely. So you're going to have lost time from work, you're going to have lost sales, you're going to be on the front page of the paper, you're going to be on the TV, and you may be starting to sell off unless you've got some cash reserves, which we know a lot of ag businesses don't have, then you're going down. So the little bit of money that you could spend on work reorganization, some miracle bandanas, some hydration stations, and taking time to educate your workers and yourself on prevention of heat-related illness and other injuries could go a long way. I want to go back to this culture statement that you made earlier. When you want to set a health and safety culture in a hort business, landscaping on a farm, how do you do that? You have to lead by example. And so if you're not doing it, then don't expect anybody that works for you. But if you set the bar and there is a zero tolerance, so you're going to have some machinery, and for those in the ag-related fields, hearing loss is very common. So if you're not wearing hearing protection, you're not wearing a wide brim hat, you're not wearing the correct respirator, you're not wearing the correct gloves, then don't expect your employees to. But if you have a zero tolerance and the first time you walk onto your crew and they're not doing what you say and you send them home, then that's going to speak to them, right? So you have to decide to invest your money, and you have to decide to establish a safety culture. Right, who in here has used earplugs before? All right, so I need a volunteer. Somebody want to volunteer to come on up here and help me? What is the best kind of hearing protection to buy? The kind that you're going to wear. All right, so some of you might want the one that's going to do noise counseling that has a stereo radio in it because you want to be out there, you know, enjoying yourself. Some of you may prefer molded earplugs. Some of you may prefer the ones like I've got in my hand. The nice thing about the ones that I have in my hand is you can tie them. If your hat has got a place to attach it to, You can tie it to the back of your hat and then they're just always right there. Or you can hang it over the mirror in your truck and it's always there. You can hang it up in the shop. You can never have enough hearing protection, but you need to find the kind that works for you. So here's what I want you to do. I want you to show us how to put these properly in your ears. No? Okay. All right, good try. Now, you can have a seat. I would like my next volunteer, please. No.
That was quick.
You think you know how to do this?
I'll try my best.
Okay, well, let's see you do it. He's thinking. No. All right, so I'm going to teach you how to do it, though. All right? So the first thing you're going to do is you're not going to smush it and you're not going to twist it. You're not going to wring it. The first thing you're going to do is you're going to roll it down with the tips of your fingers and make it as skinny as you possibly can. That's the first thing you're going to do. Then you're going to reach over with your hand and you're going to pull back on your ear because your ear canal has a little notch in it. Then after you've got it as skinny as you can, you're going to put it in your ear canal as far as you can and then you're going to let it expand. So one of the things that I hope you guys noticed is that when they put their earplugs in, they sort of look like Frankenstein, that their earplugs were sticking out to here. If you have your earplugs in correctly, you will not see them sticking out past the ear. So there you go. Let's have you try.
I gotta try now.
You got to try now. So first you're going to roll it, make it really skinny. Really skinny, really long and narrow. As narrow as you can get it.
It's tougher than it looks.
It is tough, but if you practice, you can do this. All right, whenever you think you're ready, you got it narrow, then you're going to reach across, pull your ear back, and put it down in your ear canal. Okay? And then you should feel it start to open up. So let's see how you did. Not so great.
No, it doesn't feel great either.
Not so great. All right,
I didn't.
All right, so let's try again.
I'm gonna get it.
Really skinny, really long, really narrow. Did you do it? Try.
Yeah, you gotta practice too. And you, Jake.
Everybody has a pair of earplugs in their bag, so you can all try. All right. Reach over, pull way back, get it down in your ear canal, push it in.
Oh, now I feel it.
Oh, you feel it
I
expanding?
feel it, yeah.
So they make a molded one and they do make muffs, but take the time to decide what it is you want to get. Now, how many of you wear gloves for different reasons? When you get ready to buy your gloves, how do you choose your gloves?
What you're going to be using for.
Okay, but then where do you buy them and how do you decide what size you're going to get?
If you take it and you can throw it down and it doesn't fall off.
That's really good.
All right, who else has a method? That's not, huh? All right, so come on up here. So that's what you do, because sometimes when you hurry on down to Tractor Supply Agri Supply, they may not have the kinds of gloves that you need, particularly if you are using chemicals. So you are going to need to measure your hands so that you can order them offline. And so what you're going to do is you're going to take the tape measure, go to mom's, go to grandma's, borrow the tape measure, and I'm going to get you to put your hand just like that. So what we're going to do is we're going to measure right around her knuckles here and see what size gloves she wears. And you have a tiny little hand. So we're going to measure around here, and she is about 7 inches, which would be a small glove. So if she needs to go on Granger or Gimpler's or another personal protective equipment site like that, she could go in and search for nitrile gloves, rubber gloves, and then say that she needed a small glove, and she would be all set to go, and then she wouldn't have to do the sling test. All right, thank you so much. So that's a very easy way to be able to pick the gloves that you're going to wear. So I want to come back to that chemical label and to work in that livestock a little bit with eye protection. If you have a chemical label and it just says protective eyewear, you can use anything. You can use just regular safety glasses. You can use goggles. It really doesn't matter. But if you have a chemical label and it specifically says safety glasses with side shields, you have to have safety glasses with side shields. You cannot wear goggles, all right? So that's just a rule of thumb. Read it and see what it says. How many of you have ever worked cattle in a head gate or seen cattle in a head gate? You use eye protection with those head gates? Well, after I tell you this, you will. I guarantee you will. So we have a program called Certified Safe Farm, and what Certified Safe Farm does is it teaches farmers about what risks are on their farms, and extension agents go out with the farmer or the nursery owner, whoever it is, and they walk through and they look at what the wiring risks are, fire hazards, whether shields are missing off of equipment, that sort of thing. So we had a farmer down in Sampson County who on Friday had just completed his Certified Safe Farm audit. And as part of his thank you, the extension agents had given him a bag that had some gloves and some safety glasses and different things in it. So on Saturday morning, it's time to work the cows, to vaccinate them and tag whoever needs to be tagged, that sort of thing. So they have the cow in the chute. Farmer did not have, in the past, he had not worn safety glasses. But he had some nice new safety glasses, so he says, I think I'll try these out. So he put them on. Guess what happened? The head gate lever failed. There's a lot of tension on one of those levers if you've ever been around one. It hit the safety glasses, and it was hard enough that it shattered the glasses, but it did not injure his eye. So on Monday morning, his wife was back at the extension office asking for safety glasses for their entire farm. Well, So a $5 pair of safety glasses costs someone from losing their eye. Can you afford that in your business? Yes, you can. You did a very good job, by the way. Turn your head that way toward the window. This one is good. That one needs a little work, but you did pretty good. You did really well. So then I have a friend who is actually on the board of a couple of the farm credits, large multi-commodity operation, and he was having visitors from Japan. So what did he do? He tells his wife, I'm going to run outside and I'm going to use the weed eater to clean up around here so it doesn't look so bad when our visitors come. What did I say? He was in a hurry and he was going to do something he always did so things would look nice before the visitors came. No safety glasses, no hearing protection. Guess what happened? He threw a rock with the weed eater and had traumatic glaucoma. He had a botched surgery, almost lost his eye, and is legally blind because he did not wear safety glasses. A rock, threw a rock and hit his eye. Well, big enough that it hurt his eye. So if you're doing landscaping, let me just tell you, think about the safety glasses and the hearing. And if you're in landscaping, how many zero-turn lawnmowers are there? If you're doing a yard service and that. A few. And so sometimes even on the farm, you might send your workers, if you're caught up, out to mow, and they may be on the tractor or the zero-turn.
We have 5 minutes.
Okay. So what happens, there should be a rollover protective structure on that piece of equipment, and there should be a seat belt. Do you know what happens with a zero-turn or a large piece of equipment like that when it gets on a hill or it gets on a ditch? What happens? It turns over. Last year, one of my childhood friends died on a zero-turn lawnmower. The year before that, in Johnston County, a very prominent farm owner, member of the community, same thing happened. And it rocked the world in Johnston County, didn't it?
Over on 42, wasn't it?
Yes. So I get goosebumps just thinking about it. But if the roll bar is up, the seatbelt is on, you can save somebody's life. And there's always, it's not if there's going to be an emergency in your business, it's when. This particular plan is written for farms, but you could adapt the same kind of plan for horticulture and other types of ag businesses. The way this came about is that after the floods, Commissioner Troxler asked us to work with their emergency services department to develop this template. So you need to think about what are all the things that someone would need to know if there was an emergency. So what's your chemical inventory? Where are cutoff switches? Where are important documents? A business in the western part of the state had a fire, and anybody in here a first responder? What's the first thing you ask when you go on scene?
Are there like any chemicals or anything inside?
So guess what their answer was? Well, yes, and part of our inventory is in the office, part of it's in the truck, and part of it's in the house. They didn't know what they were hazmating to on that business, and they had to hazmat to everything. And chances are in that situation, guess what? They're going to back off and it's going to burn as long as nobody's going to get hurt. So you need an emergency plan to protect your business. So prevent things from happening in the first place, but if they do happen, have a plan. All right? So that's sort of a big overview to agricultural safety and health. Anybody have any questions or comments for us? Okay, so people in agromedicine and in agricultural safety and health work in all different fields. So we have some of our extension agents who have a particular interest in agricultural safety and health. There are faculty at NC State, A&T, and ECU who are involved in agricultural safety and health. There are agricultural engineers who do this. Companies like John Deere do agricultural safety and health. Like Purdue Agribusiness has their own safety and health person. So you'll find people who have a lot of different backgrounds and interests who are part of agricultural safety and health and agromedicine. Physicians, nurses, first responders, veterinarians. So it really is very unique really to the person and what their interest is, and do they have a priority on health and safety.
I had a quick question, Robin, about for people working outside, how often and how much should you hydrate?
Every 15 minutes, you need to be hydrating. So you're thinking, I'm not stopping work every 15 minutes, but every 15 minutes, and you should be drinking at least 8 ounces of water. So water needs to be close by whenever you're out. Those hydration stations are really, really important. And notice I said water. What did I not say? I didn't say soda, and I didn't say Gatorade, because if you or someone who works for you has diabetes, then that's not going to do you too much good. Water is your friend. Truly is your friend. And another lesson at some point that I hope the Institute will add is we have a program called Fit to Farm that helps you think about how health and wellness affects your ability to work safely and how your work affects your wellness. So, good questions. Anybody else? You guys are a great group. If you guys ever need me, either here or out and about, a lot of the literature, and I'll put these up here by the door for you as you go. There are numbers for the Institute, descriptions of our programs, and most of our services are free, except for respirator fit testing and medical clearance, and then it's only $35 for those. So, but all our other services are free. So thank you all so much. You guys are a good group.